Deaths in Glenmorach Manor, a fiction novel. Written by Shirley, read by Sir Lawrence Olivier. This audiobook was narrated using synthetic voice technology provided by 11 Labs. Chapter 26. In the following week, things were coming to a head. Lord Wallace sat in his wheelchair behind the desk in his study, and Lady Eleanor was standing at his side. Alan Faulkner stood before them, offering his thanks for being allowed to stay at the manor during his recovery. There was a hidden tension between Alan and Eleanor. Their eyes met briefly. Secret smiles were exchanged when they thought no one was looking. It was a dangerous game they were playing, one that had me intrigued, but also skeptical. "I'm much recovered, my lord. Now that I'm feeling better, I would like to return home," Alan said, his voice a mix of politeness and quiet urgency. Mrs. Thompson, the stern head of the household, was nearby. She had taken care of Alan while he recovered, and from the look on her face, she wasn't ready to let him go. She implored, her voice trembling with concern. "My lord, please let him stay a few more days. It would be too risky for him to go back too soon." Lord Wallace turned his attention to the conversation, his expression unreadable. "I suppose it's up to the doctor. I have faith in his expertise. I don't mind if he needs to stay a little longer," he said, his voice a little raspier than usual. Alan shook his head, a wry smile creeping across his face. "I'm already feeling much better, my lord. There's nothing for me here now. I must return home and back to work at the stable," he replied, his tone firm. And just like that, it seemed the matter was settled. Alan would leave, and life would continue as it had before. But I had other plans. The door creaked open, and I entered the study room. Behind me, Robert and Anthony followed closely. Robert's face was tense, his expression a mix of concern and confusion. Anthony looked like he always did, aloof and quiet. Behind us, John slipped in quietly. Without a word, he locked the door and pocketed the key. The tension in the room grew palpable. Mrs. Thompson's eyes widened as she realized something wasn't quite right. Lord Wallace exclaimed, clearly surprised. "Mr. Owen, what is this all about? Why are you all here?" "Forgive me, my lord, but we all need to talk. Right now. All of us," I said, my voice calm but insistent. "Papa, Mr. Owen has asked me and Anthony to come. He says he has something important to tell us," Robert said, looking to his father for confirmation. I could feel the eyes of everyone on me, and the weight of the moment pressed down on me like a heavy fog. I took a deep breath. It was time to reveal the truth. "My lord, I have found the murderer of Benjamin Wallace and Miss Rosie Taylor, as well as the person who attacked Robert Wallace in the cellar. It is Alan Faulkner," I said, pointing directly at Alan Faulkner. There was a stunned silence. Lady Eleanor gasped and stepped back, her face turning pale. She shouted, her voice trembling with disbelief. "No, that can't be possible. You have no proof. You can't just accuse him without—" I interrupted, raising a hand to silence her. "Lady Eleanor, please. I'm sorry, but the facts are clear. The evidence is irrefutable," she cried, now turning toward her father for support. "Papa, you can't believe this man just like that. You must demand an explanation from him." Lord Wallace, who had been quiet up until now, sat motionless in his wheelchair. His eyes were wide with shock. "Silence! I want to hear what Mr. Owen has to say. That is the reason I hired him in the first place." Alan, on the other hand, appeared totally unprepared. His face had turned pale, and he took a few tentative steps backward, his mouth opening and closing, as if he were attempting to form words, but failing. He appeared less like an experienced horse trainer, and more like a cornered animal. Alan said, his voice trembling. "Mr. Owen, I'm not sure what you're talking about. This is some kind of mistake." "I didn't do anything." Mrs. Thompson, who had been standing off to the side, looked equally horrified, her eyes flickering between Alan and the rest of us. "You must be confused, Mr. Owen. Alan has been here recovering. He couldn't have done any of this," she said, her voice quivering. That's exactly what he wanted you all to believe. He's been hiding in plain sight, fooling all of you. But the truth is, Alan was behind both Benjamin's murder and the death of Rosie Taylor. He was also the one who attacked Robert in the cellar. I said, my voice steady now, cutting through the growing chaos. Mr. Owen, I believe you're aware that I was also one of the victims. Alan spoke. His tone was innocent and as if he were confused by what I accused him of. The room seemed to close in on Alan, and for the first time, his facade of composure faltered. His eyes darted nervously, sweat beading on his forehead. Please explain yourself, Mr. Owen, Lord Wallace demanded, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. I ask all of you to first listen to his explanation. He's been hired to do the investigation. Let him do his job. Again, he said, please continue, Mr. Owen. I believe you will not drag us all here to this madness without proper proof. Oh, I have all the proof I need, my lord, I said confidently. Alan was not only the murderer, but he also had a motive. He was in love with Lady Eleanor. He's been using her to get a closer picture of this family all along. Alan's mouth moved, but no sound came out. His eyes were wide with terror now as he realized the game was up. Lady Eleanor's face drained of color, and for a split second I saw the panic in her eyes. It only confirmed what I had suspected. She took a step back, her face contorted with guilt and fear. No, She choked on her words. The air in Lord Wallace's study was full of tension. My accusation had shaken the room to its core. But I wasn't done. I knew that I would have to provide undeniable proof. Alan, pale and trembling, stood frozen, his back pressed against the wall, but I could see the cold sweat on his brow. The once confident horse trainer was now a trapped animal, caged by his own crimes. I cleared my throat, my voice steady and sure as I began to peel back the layers of Alan's treachery. Before we proceed any further, let's go back to the night that Miss Rosie Taylor died. Lady Eleanor's face twisted in confusion, but I paid her no mind. Alan Faulkner had been planning to murder Robert Wallace that night. It was supposed to be Robert who died, not Rosie. Alan's eyes widened slightly, and I saw his fingers twitch nervously, but he said nothing. I continued. That night, Alan climbed up to Robert's balcony from the garden, determined to break into his room. However, as he made his way up, his right leg got tangled in the barbed wire fencing beneath the balcony. The sharp barbs tore into his flesh, leaving a deep wound that sent blood trickling down his leg. Despite the pain, Alan made it to the balcony. I paused for a moment, letting the weight of my words sink in. The room was still, but I could hear the faint rustle of fabric as Alan shifted uneasily. I continued. He got into Robert's bedroom with the intention of adding poison to the water jug that was resting on the nightstand beside Robert's bed. A small bottle of poison was found rolled under bed, but seemed like it wasn't opened yet. As the authorities had tested the water from the jug and the tea Robert prepared for Rosie, those drinks had been shown to be free of poison. Rosie caught him just before he could slip the poison into the water jug, when she woke up and saw that it wasn't Robert who was standing beside the bed. Alan froze the moment she saw him. Alan's expression twisted into a look of frustration and fear. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. I could see the panic rising in him as the truth began to close in. I continued. Alan did not know that it was Rosie in bed while Robert was making her hot tea in the kitchen. He believed he had a good chance of poisoning Robert's water jug. But Rosie woke up and ruined his plan. In the midst of his panic, he grabbed a pillow that was nearby, and then placed it over her nose and mouth to stop her from screaming, and she eventually died from lack of breath. Anthony asked me, why did he have to use poison? I answered, that's a good question. He didn't attack Robert directly to avoid causing a disturbance at night. He didn't want to risk getting caught. I stepped forward, reaching into the evidence bag and pulling out a small piece of blood-stained fabric, holding it up for everyone to see. I then presented a pair of trousers made from the same fabric material. A large tear ran down the right leg of the trousers, marked with dried bloodstains. Next, I retrieved the blood test results provided by the authorities, and I continued. This torn piece of fabric comes from Alan's trousers. It was discovered caught in the barbed wire fence beneath the balcony, where Alan attempted to break in. And this is the blood test result, confirming that the blood on the torn fabric and the trousers matches Alan Faulkner's DNA. A tense silence followed. Everyone was astounded by what I had just shown them. They seemed as if they couldn't believe what they were seeing right before their eyes. Alan, now visibly sweating, clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. He suddenly shouted, his voice rising in desperation. "I'm innocent. You can't prove it was my blood. I never get my blood tested." I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "Then show us your right leg, now." For a moment, Alan hesitated. His eyes darted nervously around the room as if looking for a way out, but there was no escape. He couldn't outrun the truth. Alan snapped, shaking his head fiercely. "You're all mistaken. This is madness," he screamed in my face. John, standing by the door, moved quickly. He and Robert reached out, grabbing Alan from behind and holding him firm as I moved toward him. "Alan, don't make this harder on yourself," I said quietly, my voice cutting through the tension. There was a collective gasp as everyone in the room processed the evidence. "Do you remember the last time I visited you during your recovery? When Mrs. Thompson was changing your bandages and adjusting your blanket? I saw the wound on your leg. Without you noticing, I took your old blood-stained bandage and sent it for testing. That's why I let you stay a few more days at the manor, so I could wait for the test results. When they came back, they confirmed that the blood from your bandage matched the bloodstains on the torn fabric from the plant's barbed wire fence." The room went deathly silent. Alan stood there, his face ashen, realizing that his last chance to hide the truth had slipped away. "Now let's discuss the scratch scar on the back of your left ear, shall we?" I said, my voice cutting through the quiet. Everyone turned their gaze to Alan as I took another step forward. Lord Wallace raised an eyebrow, looking from me to Alan. His tone was tinged with disbelief as he asked, "What scratch scar are you talking about?" I turned to him, my gaze steady. "My lord, before Rosie Taylor died, she managed to defend herself against Alan. She fought back. She scratched behind his left ear." I pointed toward Alan's left ear, but Alan attempted to flee the study room. John and I held him close. Lord Wallace's eyes narrowed. "How do you know this?" I replied, my voice growing firmer. "I examined Rosie's dead body myself, my lord. Beneath her cracked fingernails, I discovered fragments of hair and traces of dried blood. After conducting tests, the results confirmed that both the dried blood and the hair fragments matched Alan's blood and DNA test result." Lady Eleanor gasped, taking a step back, her face contorted in disbelief. Mrs. Thompson, who had been standing in shock this whole time, now looked pale as she registered the horror of what was unfolding before her eyes. I said, my voice now cold, "Show them, Alan. Show them the mark behind your ear. Everyone here deserves to know the truth." Alan's resolve shattered at that moment. He turned his face away, but Robert, with grim determination, stepped forward and pulled at the strands of hair from Alan's left ear. There, beneath the hairline, was a deep scratch, jagged and long. The scar was visible, and it hadn't fully healed yet. Lord Wallace looked at the wound and then back at Alan. "So it's true, all of it," he whispered. Alan shook his head, his mouth opening and closing in disbelief. "I didn't mean to kill Rosie, but I had no choice. She attacked me." He sank to his knees, his hands trembling.
"So you confessed? You killed Rosie Taylor, but your initial target was my son, Robert. How could you, Alan? We treated you well. And this is how you repay our kindness?"
Lord Wallace shouted, his voice cracking with anger and despair. "It was self-defense, my lord. She attacked me first." Alan still tried to defend himself. "Then you've just admitted you were the one who broke into Robert's room that night," I said, aiming to corner him so he could no longer defend himself. Everyone stood in silence, watching Alan as he finally realized there was no escape. No more lies to tell. No more manipulations to make. The truth had come to light. Unexpectedly, Robert became furious and punched Alan several times in the face while shouting, "You killed Rosie! You killed the person I loved! I must deal with you with my own hands!" I tried to stop Robert from launching another fist at Alan. "Robert, stop it. Don't stain your hands with actions that could harm yourself." John helped me by restraining Robert's body. Lady Eleanor was crying loudly and begged her brother to stop attacking Alan. "Brother, please stop. Please, I'm begging you." Alan lay helpless, blood trickling from his nose and the corner of his mouth. His eyes were swollen from Robert's relentless blows to his face. Weakly, he whispered, "Thank you, my lady, but I deserve this." Alan tried to appear tough and hoped Lady Eleanor would defend him in front of Robert and Lord Wallace. She said, her tone low and final, "It is over, Alan. I can't believe you've betrayed us all."